If you're looking for Bonaire scuba diving tips, learn from my mistakes, because the way I dive this island now looks totally different than I did when I started 4 years ago. Starting with this first insider tip, which is don't just use the dive map. The dives on the map are awesome and they're all well marked with the little yellow rock as well as the dive marker, but there are some dives that are not on the map and they're marked. For example, I got to explore the rock. This was one of my most favorite dives, and it wasn't just because Yolanda shared with me all of the seahorses, but also because I got to see a lot of other amazing things. But some dives are not on the map and they're marked like this one. And then there are some dives where it might make sense in terms of entry and exit to not enter at the marked portion. In other words, depending on how the conditions look, it might make sense to go in between the dives. And in any of these situations, having good navigation skills is a must. More like this coming up. This next helpful tip is around getting your air or getting your nitrox if you dive nitrox. But if you're new here, yo, I'm Christine Lozada with Where in the World is CL. I make travel videos every week to help you get up, get out, and go travel. So if you like to travel, consider subscribing. Don't be that guy. There are so many Bonaire YouTube videos and blog posts. Don't miss it out in the description. When I first started coming to Bonaire, I thought my only option was buy the tank or unlimited air. This is actually something that a lot of dive shops don't talk about, which is the air card. So many people know, and what I used to use is the unlimited air package. So for 6 days, you can trade out your tanks, trade out your empties, get your new tanks, and that's standard across the dive shops. Or you can buy per tank. So get one tank, on average $20 to $22, and then you're just getting one tank at a time as you need them. What I didn't know was the case was this dive card. In other words, this air dive card, in which whether you're air or nitrox, you pay one set price and you have a little punch card in which you can bring in your old tank, just get it signed off to go grab your new tank. And depending on how many dives you're going to do, because the break even for the unlimited air packages tends to be at least 3 dives a day, maybe 4 dives a day, to make it make sense. And so what I realized, which I didn't know in past years, is this air nitrox punch card. For this next insider tip, this one's actually a big deal because it is very, very different how I dive now versus how I would dive before. But I want to bring in 2 experts that you need to know on this island.
This is Yolanda.
This is Sij.
Together we're Dive Master Live and Go with Joe, aka Seahorse Whisper.
Question I asked them, and this is so different how I dive now, and you should too, which is something I call spending time in the sand.
In the sandy area, it's the best on Bonaire.
The thing is that people are learned on Bonaire, and we are diver's paradise. We're the capital of like diving from shore. And a lot of people learn to dive from shore towards the mooring line, and then from the mooring line you go against the current, and then from the 30 minutes, and then you turn around and you come back. And then you miss actually the best part of a lot of things, because in the sandy area you find a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of small stuff. You don't find macro stuff. You don't find the big sharks. You don't find crazy big stuff, because we don't have that on Bonaire. Sometimes we have that on the East Coast, but the sandy area, and especially one dive site called Something Special, if you stay there, we have sometimes dives 1.5 hours without seeing the reef. We see octopus, we see jawfish, we see seahorses. Lately we saw batfish. So serious sandy area, do not skip it.
I got this really cool example actually, that one day I was doing the same dive as another group of people, but I always do the sandy area. They came up and they didn't see anything. I saw 3 eagle rays, about 10 turtles, 4 seahorses, and they didn't see anything. So it doesn't mean that everything's in the sand, but I always advise people to dive on the shoulder of the reef, so you're literally You can look down the reef, but you can also scan the sandy area.
And there's another part of staying in the shallows that if you like to capture your dive, you already know, which is that the shallows is the place to get the best shots with the best lighting. But they have a tip around the timing to get good shots.
Most of the time, safety stop is the best time. And also, if you use a GoPro or use a camera,
the lighting is amazing.
The light
there.
is like crazy in the shallows.
Like at 4 or 5 o'clock on the
Golden
end
hour.
of the day, we call it the golden hour. The light just comes in from a very nice angle, and without editing, you got this like mysterious coloring when you see some marine life.
Don't forget to check out their pretty amazing social media. This next insider secret is kind of based off of your preference on both travel and diving. So a lot of people on Bonaire will drop in, look at the soft coral, figure out which way the current is going and how strong it is, and then determine their dive. But in this insider tip, I'm suggesting that you dive from one site to the next. And you can do this in one of two ways. One way, if you have someone who's a non-diver, are they your DD? Maybe your NDD.
Non-diving driver.
Simply give them that time to go pick you up at the next dive site, and we dove from one site to the next in this instance. Or simply let the current carry you to the next dive site, and then Bonaire is a really awesome island and it's relatively very safe. Grab a ride, hitchhike a ride back to your car at the other dive site. I don't think you'd really wait that long, and just jump in the back of someone's truck. But consider not calling your dive if the current is strong. This next insider tip is around depth. But if you're getting some value out of this video, cheers that like button, consider subscribing. And if you have a helpful tip, I discover new things on this island every year because of you guys. So add it in the comments below. We're all a community. But the thing about Bonaire is that it's shallow. The Little Mermaid song with the aquarium music is going because the small stuff is on Bonaire Island, but there's a mistake that a lot of people make.
No, and another thing, people dive way too deep on Bonaire most of the time. Oh, because you're certified to like 60 feet, 18 meters, and they want to go there. But our dives, we do 70-minute dives, 80-minute dives, 90-minute dives, and it's all on like average of 30 feet, 10 meters, because it's so much more beautiful and there's so much more life. So
this next insider tip is one you've heard me advocate for in other videos on my channel, but the way you should book it is different the way I view that now. In other words, if you want to see the big stuff, or if you want to go a little bit deeper, then you might consider going to the East Coast. East Coast Diving is one of the only operators that will take you out on a boat to be able to see things like the big stuff in Whitehole, or Turtle City with 57 turtles in 57 minutes. It's a lot of stuff. I recommend booking that for the beginning of your trip so that you can see what that's like. Then go look at all the small stuff, dive in the shallows and in the sand, and then give yourself that moment. If you want to go see that again, see the big stuff again later in your vacation, then you can book that again. They book up in advance, but I just wish I didn't wait till the end to do it, because I was like, I wish I did more than one boat dive on my first year on Bonaire. This next one, let's keep that boating going, is one that I discovered through Mount, which helps me to find hidden gems around the world. You can learn more about them in the description below if you want to find more off the beaten path adventures. But Bonaire is a place for shore diving, but do you have to? Because my mom, she's cute, but she's tiny AF. She wants to come to Bonaire with me, but even though these dives are all rated in terms of ease of entry to the dive, so if you're not as skilled in shore diving, you might want to go to the easier dives, versus if you're very skilled, you might do some of the more difficult entries. But I already know that my mom will be challenged with even the easy entries. So boat diving is a great option, and through Mount, I was able to find some awesome places that you can charter a private boat to have you go around wherever you want to go to dive. Maybe you want to dive Klein Bonaire. Maybe you want to dive somewhere in the south. Maybe you want to tie off and go have a drink at Delphins, for example. But chartering a private boat, I went through Aquafun on this amazing adventure, which was snorkeling on Klein Bonaire. They're available for private charters, so check them out as well as Mount in the description below. This next insider secret is one that you should ask the person you're diving with. A lot of people come to Bonaire for a lot of diving, a whole week of diving, a whole month of diving. And if you don't know how to navigate your dives with your dive buddy, or if you don't have a group you're diving with, you're going to, and a lot of people ask me, who should I go diving with? This is a question you should ask.
Hey, dive guide, do you scuba dive on your days off?
And I think that this is a really important thing to ask, both on Bonaire and wherever you're diving around the world, because I had some of the best dives I've ever had on Bonaire Island because my dive guides, Sij and Jo, they dive on their day off and they know these dives like the back of their hand. And so I literally just cruised around and waited for them to find the cool stuff that they knew was there, and I would just go look at it.
Which was awesome.
So if you want to learn more about what they offer, as well as some bloopers, you'll find that in the outtake. Don't forget to press this button. But here's a couple other just helpful tips that a lot of people get kind of confused about on Bonaire Island. The first one is around Stinapa. A lot of people are like, I'm not carrying around the QR code with me. If you're like, what is Stinapa? You have to pay a nature fee to be able to scuba dive on Bonaire, and Stinapa will drive around to enforce and make sure people have paid their nature fee. You basically show a QR code, but obviously when you're going diving, you're not bringing valuables like your phone, or you shouldn't, or you're not bringing that QR code printed, for example. So you have the option. If Stinapa stops you and you have no proof, you can go into their office and show proof later. So don't worry about having that info with you in case you don't happen to have it on you. The next thing, which is a known one, but I am reminded about it again this year because I went to a dive site that just had so many cars in the lot. One of the things is there's a lot of places to dive in Bonaire, so keep on driving. If the place that you want to go dive at has a lot of cars parked at it, just cruise on to the next one. And maybe still up for debate, I'm curious what you do in the comments below. This isn't specific to Bonaire, it's just specific to diving places in general, which is you don't lock your car. When you are out scuba diving, you are a prime suspect for someone to break into your car and take any valuables that are in there. And so on Bonaire, it is very common for people to leave the windows rolled down and the doors unlocked and no valuables in the car. This is something that for the further dive sites, I definitely stand by, but for insanely busy places, it's up for debate. These are insider scuba diving tips for Bonaire. If you have a helpful tip, add it in the comments below. I'm Christine Lozada. I'm back on Bonaire every single year. Don't miss out on so many YouTube videos and blog posts in the description. All right, outtakes and more helpful info. You should totally dive with Sij and Jo. They're amazing. Okay, bye.
A good instructor or dive master will go on their day off because that's what we love most.
So what we do, we just pick you up on the location and we have all the gear. We have the tanks, we have the BCDs, we have the regulators, and we do everything top notch, so high end. And small groups, so we pick you up. We only take families, maximum of 4 people. We take like maximum maybe 2 or 3 people if it's a buddy. We don't put everything together. So, and the maximum what we do is like 2 dives a day because we want to have the total experience. Like we experienced today, we did 2 dives. We got a message of sea turtle conservation that we're gonna check out some newborn turtles. And that's what we did. That's what we want to do. We don't want to rush things.
Yeah, we're a good team. That's pretty much, yeah, we're a good team.
I've got like 4,500 dives. Never found a seahorse on my own. So if someone tells me that there is a seahorse somewhere, I can find it, no worries, that's no problem. She finds it every time, and every time when she finds a seahorse, it's like right in front of me. And the only thing that I only do when she finds the seahorse before me, She just gets the middle finger.